Hi everyone, I am Dr. C. S. Kulkarni and I am going to teach medical biochemistry. Before the topic, please subscribe and like the channel. In the last session, we studied about introduction to biochemistry, some historian biochemists, then biomolecules, types of cells, and stabilizing forces in bonds of atom. In today's session, we will first see water, the universal solvent. Water constitutes about 70 to 80% of the weight of most of cells. You can see the diagram. The crystal structure of the ice depicts a tetrahedral arrangement of water molecules. Four other bound by hydrogen bonds surround each oxygen atom. On melting, the molecules get much closer and this results in liquid water denser than solid ice. This also explains why ice floats on water. Water flows in rapid motion, constantly making and breaking hydrogen bonds with adjacent molecules. As the temperature of water increases toward 100 degrees centigrade, the kinetic energy of its molecules becomes greater than the energy of the hydrogen bonds connecting them, and the gaseous form of water appears. Here in the diagram you can see the first is the first molecule is oxygen, then hydrogen bond, then hydrogen, and below hydrogen there is a covalent bond between oxygen and hydrogen. A gifted properties of water make it the most favored medium for all cellular reactions and interactions. These properties are: first, hydrophilic. Water is a polar molecule. Molecules with polar bonds can easily form hydrogen bonds. Second, hydrophobic. Water favors hydrophobic interactions and provides a basis for metabolism of ionic substances. Covalent cohesiveness of water. It has immense hydrogen bonding capacity, both with other molecules on and also the adjacent water molecules. This is called cohesiveness of water. Principles of thermodynamics. Thermodynamics is concerned with the flow of heat and deals with the relationship between heat and work. Bioenergetics of, of biothermodynamics is the study of the energy changes accompanying biochemical reactions. Biological systems use chemical energy to power living processes. The first law of thermodynamics: the total energy of a system, including its surrounding, remains constant, or delta E is equal to Q minus W, where Q is the heat absorbed by the system and W is the work done. This is called the law of conservation of energy. If heat is transformed into work, there is potentially proportionality between the work done and the heat dissipated. A system is an object or action quantity of matter chosen for observation. All the parts, other parts of the universe outside the boundary of the system are called surroundings. The second law of thermodynamics. Here you can see in the diagram, state 2 has higher energy and state 1 has lower energy. Therefore, state 2 minus state 1, that is E2 minus E1, leads to delta E, which is nothing but Q minus W. Second law of thermodynamics. The entropy of a system must increase if a process is to occur spontaneously. A reaction occurs spontaneously if delta E is negative or if the entropy of system increases. Entropy is a measure of the degree of randomness or disorder of a system. A closed system approaches a state of equilibrium. Any state system can spontaneously proceed from the state of low probability, that is order state, to a state of high probability, that is least order state. The entropy of system may decrease with increase in that of surroundings. The second law may be expressed in simple terms as Q is equal to T into S delta S, where Q is the heat absorbed, T is the absolute temperature, and delta S is a change in entropy. Gibbs free energy concept and third law of hemodynamics. Term free energy denotes a process of the total energy change in a system that is available for doing work. Therefore, delta G is equal to delta H minus T delta S, or delta G is equal to delta E minus T delta S, where delta G is the change in energy, free energy, delta H or delta E is equal to change in heat and content or enthalpy, delta S is change in entropy, and T is absolute temperature. The standard free energy, it is the free energy change under standard conditions designated as delta G. The standard conditions are defined for biochemical reactions at a pH of 7 and 1 molar concentration, and are differentiated by a priming sign delta G. Three types of reactions can occur. A reaction can occur spontaneously when delta G is negative. Then the reaction is called exergonic. If the delta G is of greater magnitude, the delta reactions undergo completion and is essentially irreversible. 2. When delta G equal to 0, the system is at equilibrium. 3. For reactions where the delta G is positive, an input of energy is required to drive the reaction. The reaction is termed as endergonic, and those with a negative delta G as exergonic. For example, reaction 1 is glucose plus Pi gives glucose 6 phosphate. Reaction 2, ATP plus H2O gives ADP plus AI. And reaction 3, glucose plus ATP gives glucose 6 phosphate plus ADP. Reaction 1 cannot proceed spontaneously, but the reaction 2 is coupled in the body, so on that the reaction 1 becomes possible. For the reaction 1, delta G is plus 13.8 kilojoules per mole. For the reaction 2, delta G is minus 30.5 kilojoules per mole. But when the two reactions are coupled to a reactor, the reaction 3, the delta G becomes minus 16.7 kilojoules per mole, and hence the reaction becomes possible. Here comes to an end of today's session. Please like, share, and subscribe to the channel. Thank you.